Hello and welcome to this day in history for November 6. I'm in a little bit of an unusual situation today in that I'm not able to make a video recording, so we'll think of this as more of a podcast. If you like this format better, let me know and I'll do them this way going forward. But this is the way it needs to be today. November 6 is the 310th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 55 days remaining until the end of the year. And today we're going to start in the year 1528, when Cabeza de Vaca discovers Texas. On this day, the Spanish conquistador Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca was shipwrecked on a low sandy island off the coast of Texas. Starving, dehydrated, and desperate, he was the first European to set foot on the soil of the future Lone Star State. Cabeza de Vaca's unintentional journey to Texas was a disaster from the start. A series of dire accidents and Indian attacks plagued his expedition's 300 men as they explored North Florida. The survivors then cobbled together 5 flimsy boats and headed to sea, which will have been the Gulf of Mexico, where they endured vicious storms, severe shortages of food and water, and attacks from Indians wherever they put to shore. Now, I just want to say as an aside, this is November 6th, so if they're trying to travel through the Gulf of Mexico at this time of year, they very likely encountered some pretty heavy weather. This is kind of hurricane season-ish. Anyway, with his exploration party reduced to 80 or 90 men, Cabeza de Vaca's motley flotilla finally wrecked on what was probably Galveston Island, just off the coast of Texas. Unfortunately, landing on shore did not end Cabeza de Vaca's trials. During the next 4 years, the party barely managed to eke out a tenuous existence by trading with the Indians located in modern-day East Texas. The crew steadily died off from illness, accidents, and attacks until only Cabeza de Vaca and 3 others remained. From the original 300, there were only 4 left. In 1532, the 4 survivors set out on an arduous journey across present-day states of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Captured by the Karankawa Indians, they lived in virtual slavery for nearly 2 years. Only after Cabeza de Vaca had won the respect of the Karankawa by becoming a skilled medicine man and diplomat did the small band win their freedom. In 1536, the men encountered a party of Spanish slave hunters in what is now the Mexican state of Sinaloa. They followed them back to Mexico City, where the tale of their amazing odyssey became famous throughout the colony and in Europe. Despite the many hardships experienced by Cabeza de Vaca and his men during their northern travels, their stories inspired others to intensify exploration of the region that would one day become Texas. In 1854, American commander, composer, and conductor John Philip Souza was born. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. He was elected the 16th president of the United States over a deeply divided Democratic Party, becoming the first Republican to win the presidency. In 1861, Jefferson Davis was elected Confederate president. In 1861, Canadian-American physician and educator James Naismith was born. If that name is familiar to you, perhaps you already know that he invented basketball. In 1887, American baseball player and manager Walter Johnson was born. Walter was nicknamed the Big Train. He was one of the first 5 inductees to the Hall of Fame. He was a Major League Baseball right-handed pitcher. He played his entire 21-year baseball career for the Washington Senators, later served as manager of the Senators, and then the Cleveland Indians after that. In 1893, Edsel Ford was born. He was the only child of Henry Ford and became the president of Ford Motor Company from 1919 until his death in 1943. Edsel's oldest son was Henry Ford II. Edsel managed to introduce many lasting changes. For example, he founded and named the Mercury Division. He was responsible for the Lincoln Zephyr and the Continental. He significantly strengthened Ford Motors' overseas production and modernized the company's cars, such as by introducing hydraulic brakes. In 1906, Teddy Roosevelt traveled to Panama. He took a 17-day trip to Panama and Puerto Rico, becoming the first president to make an official diplomatic tour outside of the continental United States. In 1917, Bolsheviks revolted in Russia. In 1920, 1926, American soldier, businessman, author, salesman, and motivational speaker Hillary Hinton Zig Ziglar was born. And he was quite a motivational speaker. One of his mottos was to say that you can get everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. And another one is, you are what you are because of what goes into your mind. I think those are two very worthwhile mottos. In 1934, Memphis, Tennessee becomes the first major city to join the Tennessee Valley Authority. In 1946, American actress Sally Field was born. She has a lengthy television and movie filmography and many awards to go with it. In 1947, the TV show Meet the Press, the longest-running television program in history, made its debut. In 1948, American singer and songwriter, guitarist, and actor Glen Frey was born. Best known for the Eagles, he also did a good bit of TV and movie acting. He died in 2016. In 1956, Dwight D. Eisenhower was reelected as President of the United States. In 1962, the United Nations condemned apartheid. Apartheid comes from the Afrikaans word for apartness, and this was government-sanctioned racial segregation and political and economic discrimination against South Africa's non-white majority. The UN condemned apartheid and called on all its members to end economic and military relations with the country. In 1965, Cuba and the United States formally agreed to begin an airlift for Cubans who wanted to go to the United States. By 1971, 6 years later, 250,000 Cubans had made use of this program. In 1982, a woman ices her husband with antifreeze. A woman named Shirley Allen was arrested for poisoning her husband, Lloyd, with ethylene glycol, commonly known as antifreeze. After witnessing her mother spike Lloyd's drinks with the deadly substance, Shirley's own daughter turned her into the authorities. Lloyd Allen was Shirley's sixth husband and the second to die from mysterious causes. The other four had divorced her. After a short 4-day trial, Shirley Allen was sentenced to life in prison in 1983. In 1984, Ronald Reagan was reelected President of the United States. In 1988, renowned Soviet dissident Andrei Sakharov visited the United States. Soviet scientist and well-known human rights activist Andrei Sakharov began a 2-week visit to the United States. During his visit, he pleaded with the American government and people to support Russian leader Mikhail Gorbachev's policies of glasnost, political openness, and perestroika, economic reforms, and so ensured the success of a new, more democratic and friendlier Soviet system. In 2007, American singer, songwriter, and guitarist Hank Thompson died. His musical style, characterized as honky-tonk western swing, was a mixture of fiddles, electric guitar, and steel guitar, along with his distinctive smooth baritone vocals. I've linked an example of Hank Thompson's music in the show notes. He died on November 6 of 2007 at the age of 82. In 2012, Barack Obama was reelected President of the United States. And I think that's going to do it for us today. As always, links to my research are included in the show notes. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And feel free to share this if you found it interesting or informative. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. All right, let's try this again. Blah, 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 coffee mug. Hello, kitty. Did the 37th. Is that right? I would have thought it'd been longer ago than that. Well, there you go. Was that the same year? Okay. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? She's not a man. Sure would be nice if I could ever read one of these in its entirety without having to start anything over. That would be awesome. I might have to take another look at that. I'm going to have to look at that. Oh, better take a look at that. This is why I don't do live shows.